When you emerge into the world, there's going to be a moment, a defining moment that stands to make or break you. And here's what it is. It's the moment where all the things are on the line. It's right there. You've worked for it, you fought for it, you've built towards it. In that moment, something challenges you. Now, the old you would have responded in a certain way. Maybe not the best way, but the new you does something different. Welcome to the Dark Work Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Trucks, and this entire podcast is based around helping you learn how to develop your dominator's identity so you can enter the world with a mentality of, I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. Now, I am an 11-year survivor of the foster care system who then played in the NFL, was an American Ninja Warrior. I'm now a husband, a father, a speaker, an author, and a coach. I do a lot of cool things, but really what I do, I step into the world and I teach individuals and teams how to go through a dark work experience so they can win in the light. Now, it's all about the things you do that nobody sees, that aren't celebrated. They're kind of hardships that you go through that really at the end of the day become the reason why you fight so much more. Now, this whole first episode is really give you a foundational understanding of what to look for in the future. As you watch a new episode, I don't want you to just watch it to watch it. I want you to know what you're paying attention to so you know what to extract. So you'll see me look at my notes down here and we'll kind of dive into some things. But what I realize is this, all the great things you have in your life right now, the amazing confidence you have, the pride, the achievements you have in life, they came because at some point in time, you did work that nobody cared about. Nobody celebrated. It wasn't admired in the moment. Nobody was like giving you high fives, right? But what happens is you did that in the background so you could develop a skill, but also the brazenness, the confidence, the pride to deploy that skill to the world where it needed to be. And so as you listen to the episodes ongoing, I'm going to unpack for you what a dark work experience is and why I call it that, but also what you can pay attention to extract to apply to your own life as we go through. Now, the reason I use the word experience, see, when I talk about dark work, it's the work you do in the dark to shine in the light, yes. But an experience is unique and different. Reason is because all of us are wired a certain way. We're wired for joy, for success. We're wired for sadness. We're wired for a lot of things. But the reason we're wired that way is because of an experience. Not hope or joy or just like maybe some random thing happened. Some experience took place that allowed us to go, I now see something this way, or I've learned this thing, or I have more grit, I have more wherewithal. But it all happened because you went through something. And a lot of us want this amazing high thing, but we can't understand why we can't have it. And most of the time, you just haven't gone through the proper experience to have that. And so for me, what I do is I guide individuals through that when I work with them, but also there's a lot of people that have done it. You've actually done this in different parts of your life. The problem is the thing you want higher right now requires more of you. It requires a different level of experience. And here's the thing. We all go through experiences one of two ways. One is on demand. Two is when crap hits the fan. You choose it, you put yourself in front of it, or something goes wrong and you are forced to push forward. Now, most of the time, I'd probably say 90% of the time, for a lot of us, it's when crap hits the fan. All of a sudden, something goes wrong and I'm thrust in this new environment. And all of a sudden, you find inside of yourself something you didn't know was there. And you go, I could have done it the whole entire time. It was always within me. And I go, yes. Why didn't you go get it earlier? And so I want you to start seeing as we go through these episodes how to do that, how to have that optimism, how to be able to push forth, and how the hard stuff's the good stuff. Like the harder it is, in fact, is the better, to be honest. It's a reason why if you look at people that do CrossFit, like the number one rule of CrossFit is talk about CrossFit, right? Why? Because it's so hard. I have an amazing wife and she has had my children. And when she's with her friends, they talk about how hard pregnancy was. And it was this thing, right? Why? Because it's hard. There's pride around the thing you do because it's so difficult. When you run from that, you don't have the pride. You don't have the dark work mentality, which is I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. So in defining moments, you don't fight the same way. You don't push the same way. And in fact, when it's you versus somebody else, if they've done more and harder dark work, they come out on top. So I want you to have that thought in the back here as we go through it. I'm going through my whole slides here, and we'll call it slides. I call it my notes. But the purpose of this whole podcast, the base foundation, why I'm bringing it to the world, isn't so I can just talk to cool people. The real purpose of it is to give you an understanding of what a dark work experience is that's different for everybody. Everyone's journey is different. Their experience is different. And we live in a world of comparison. Everybody looks at somebody else and goes, gosh, I'm not as far ahead as that person. I feel less than, when the truth is they just went through different things, had different experiences. To be quite honest, maybe you don't want what they have, because with that good comes the problems, right? You can't just take one good thing. You have to have it all full stock. So if you want to have the great things, you have to look at the dark things that came with that and then gauge, do you want that? Because maybe you don't. And guess what? That's okay. You have to set your own scale, which means You can't borrow the world scale. You can't wake up one day and go, I want that because other people have that. Well, at the end of the day, there's always a new level of what you don't have. So even if you do work incredibly hard to get something, there could be a point in time where you get it, you feel good for 5 minutes because somebody else comes along and goes, yeah, but you didn't do this, or this, or this, and then it shuts you down. So you should actually question also, do you need to want what the world wants for you? Or should you pause, pull back, and go, what's the thing I want most? What's the thing that you want to take from life? And then go after that. Set your own scale so it becomes a thing you want. Now, as we dig into people's dark work experiences, we start finding out what they are. There's a process that I want you to be able to uncover and understand so that when you're paying attention, you hear me asking questions throughout, that you get a feel for it. But I'm also going to teach you right now the structure of what you should pay attention to. Now, the biggest thing for me is I want you to grasp that dark work really is tied to the origin of identity. Now, I'm a man that has areas I study outside of what I coach and talk about on stage. And my area of study is identity. Essentially, it's who you are when you aren't thinking about who you are. Your natural habits and patterns and actions that you go through. If something happens that was, in front of me and you, no matter what it is, there's a way that you would respond to it and a way I would respond to it. They'd be different. In a beautiful way, they'd be different. Why? Because of who we are. And who we are is not just a collection of, of names, a color of your skin. It's not a place you grew up. It's all the things you've gone through and experienced. And so those things create for you habits and actions and patterns. Now, the interesting thing about it, which Moby pays attention to, is your life is created to what it is now because of habits and patterns and actions. And if your identity is habits and patterns and actions, well, your identity creates your life, has created your life. So if you want to change your life, you must shift parts of your identity. Maybe not all of it. Maybe you go, I'm a great mom, beautiful. I'm a great coach, beautiful. Maybe you are a sucky basketball player. Got to shift some things there, right? Maybe you're a horrible boss. You don't lead very well. Got to shift some things there. It's not full stock everything, but if you want to have changes in your life, you have to shift parts of your identity. Those parts you say, that's who I am, we got to make those better. And so the idea is when I talk about dark work, it's the work that you do to gain ownership, to gain identity, to instill new habits and patterns and actions in your life so that later on you can change your life, because here's a truth that I full-heartedly believe. You cannot attain or sustain a life above your current identity. If you don't have the habits and patterns and actions in place to make $1 million, to become a great athlete, to be a great spouse in your marriage, you can't have that. But if you do adopt those and you shift into them through things done in the dark that are unsexy, they're not celebrated, they're misunderstood, they're sometimes ridiculed by the people closest to you. But if you can do those long enough, you retrain people on who you are, you retrain yourself on who you are as well. You show up different, you function different. And now that thing you want most comes into your life. Like for me, I look back in the years of all my life and I realized that I wanted to get to higher places. And think of this kind of like a hill. The bottom of the hill is where we all are sometimes and have been, a place we don't want to be. There's a top of a hill we want to get to, right? The top of the hill is that shifted identity, different habits and patterns and actions, different ways that I'm functioning that are allowing me to essentially be in a space of going, you know what? Like I'm doing pretty well and I have things in check and I feel really good about life, but how do we get up this hill? Like what's the journey up? Now, some people can do it a couple different ways. You can walk up the hill, right? Maybe it's slippery, it sucks to get up, or you can get a good vehicle to get you up there. Maybe this cool rock climbing off-road truck, who knows what it is. But that vehicle that gets you up the hill is a dark work experience. That's what it is that takes you from the bottom to the top. That's the whole process of it. But it's a journey and it's a thing you have to go through that's arduous. And it sucks, to be quite honest. When I was 14 years old, I'd been in a foster care system for 11 years. I got adopted and I got put into a world where I wasn't feeling like I mattered. My own mom didn't love me, gave me away. I didn't know where my siblings were at. I went to a school where it was me as the only black kid in my family, only black kid in my all-white family, so I didn't have a place where I felt comfortable. And I hadn't had anything happen in my life that gave me a reason to feel like I deserved much. And I found myself in front of this situation, which was I had this dream to play football. I wanted to go out, run around, and be the star, right? We all want to have that moment. And I went out, tried this thing that I loved, sucked at it. I'm talking I was horrible. Like I wasn't good, couldn't catch a football, let alone catch a cold, right? And we all have those moments. I know you've had a moment in time in your life where you've tried something new and found that in the trying of this new thing, you thought it was gonna be great and you go, ooh, I suck, I don't feel like doing this anymore because I don't like the feeling of not being good. And so we do one of two things. We make good excuses and we tuck away. We don't do that thing again, or we lean in. Now at 14, I tucked away. I did not lean in, to be quite honest. I led down the pathway of being a statistic, which as a foster kid, if you go to any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids like me. They've gone through a lot of craziness. They end up doing a lot of crazy in the world, I think partially for retribution from what was done to us, and they end up in a bad place. And so I'm in a situation where I've tried the game for a couple of years, not very good at it, and I start tucking away. And then a moment in time wakes me up. I mean, you have to have this moment that allows us to wake up to see what's going on. And it was a moment in time where I heard the statement that made me go, ooh, I don't want to be a criminal. I don't want to be a bad dad or a bad husband years from now because of this thing that happened that I had no control over. So for me, I chose a different thing. I said, you know what, I want to be great. And sometimes that's what it has to be, just to make a simple choice. I want to be great at something. And my choice to be great was football. I go, I'm going to be great at this game, but I have no idea what to do. So I started looking, what do people do, right? How do they? And so I go, well, if they're great at football, they catch footballs, they lift weights, they run routes, they do these drills, right? I'd never done it. I know what I wanted, but I'd never done the thing. It didn't feel like part of my identity to do these things, but I had to lean in. And so what happened was I tucked away into this space, which was completely in the dark, meaning no one cheered, no one celebrated, no one even knew what I was doing. I'd go to the park at Chichibu Park every single day. I'd run routes, I'd catch footballs. I'd lay on my back in my house and throw a football in the air and catch it 500 times a day. I'd lift weights. The problem was I didn't feel comfortable doing it, and even more so, I had people that would see me doing it go, what are you doing, skinny guy? Why in the weight room? Hey, Butterfingers, why are you catching footballs? You get ridiculed too on the journey. But here's something that took place that I didn't know was going to take place, nor did anybody else. Fast forward 7 months of an off season. I show back up my sophomore year of high school, and I get on the football field. There's a different dog in me. There was a mentality, this is where I was born, which was I have done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. It's my football, it's my tackle, it's my touchdown. And it was something I'd earned. It's something that I couldn't take from somebody. You can't buy this moment. That this sense of what you need to have in you is only earned and fought through hard stuff you do when nobody's watching. So when I got in that football field, I made plays. There's no way I'm gonna have somebody take something that's mine from me. So all of a sudden it progresses into more and more. So I get a sense of self because I got a scholarship a couple years later. I went to play in the NFL, right? But here's what it was. I did these things so that when I got out there, I had what's called investment bias, which is what you're actually looking for. You want to show up to defining moments in your life. I had defining moments, football plays, and times when I was challenged. You want to be in those moments with this mentality because what happens is no one can take it from you. I've already invested it. The bias is I'm going to get my return. You aren't taking it from me. Now, this can apply to your business. It can apply to your marriage. It can apply to your parenting. It can apply to your health. Every single area of your life where you want it to be great, this is what's necessary. But you first have to understand it's not just you trying to get an achievement. That is not what it is. It's you trying to become the kind of identity that achieves at that level. When that becomes who you are at your core, your world changes. Those small shifts make massive changes. But how do you do this, right? How does this whole thing unfold? There's 3 specific steps that I'll walk you through. I want you to grasp these 3 steps because you will find them in every single person's story. You'll find them in my stories. You'll find them in your own story at different times. The first part of this is you have to do what's called respect the light. Now, what do I mean by respect the light? To respect means to have admiration for. When you have admiration for something, there's a different weight to it. And there's 3 things you must respect when it comes to the light. The first thing you have to respect is the vision you want for your life. The guests we'll have are going to all tell you about the visions they have, what they wanted to accomplish. Without that vision clear, your mind doesn't connect to it at an emotional level. I know in your life you had something where you connected to the pair of shoes you wanted, or the car you wanted, or the house you wanted, and it ran through your head all day long. You could think it and touch it and taste it and feel it. There was this thing that was just tied to you, right? So much so you had these almost subconscious draws towards it, almost instinctually. So you have to first respect the vision of what it is, but not just what it is in a sense of like I want it, the gravity of what it takes to get it. Because a lot of people, they want something, but they don't do what it takes or know what it takes to get it. I think Drake one time, the poet philosopher says, there are more people that want it than people that got it. The separation is most people don't understand the gravity of what it's going to take. So they get into the flow of it. It gets too hard. They back out of it, right? So how do you lean in? Understanding in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. You know what it is. It's going to be difficult. Now, the second part of this is you must respect those who already have this. Now, here's the hard part. You might not like the person who has it. There's a lot of people in your life you've looked at and go, man, they got some good money or time or freedom. And you go, but I wouldn't. They're just, and you start to smash them down. because a lot of us don't realize that's what you do. You have one of two options to do. When you see something and you go, I want this thing, I want what they have, is envy a little bit. We don't admit that sometimes. There's envy. We do one of two things. Either I tell myself, gosh, you're not that great. You got to level up. Where we go, let me bring this person down to my level. And 9 times out of 10, you bring them to your level by chopping them up, messing it all up. And here's what happens when you do that. When you diminish them, you don't extract the amazing lessons they have in front of you to apply to your own life. So now you're in a position going, gosh, I'm never going to have that. And this guy has this. What's going on? Because you act like that person doesn't deserve what they have. They may not do what you would do with it, but they have it. Second thing is look at people and go, you know what? I may not like everything about them, but I respect this piece. The third part, which is the hard one, respect your work. Now, what this means is there are parts of you you don't see. It's a great statement I heard by a guy named, I think, Tim Murphy. He says, it is hard to see the label when you're inside the jar. A lot of us got jars of our lives we're living in. But there's a label outside that says you're a poor communicator. You procrastinate. You're late. You're angry. You're pessimistic, right? There's little things on the outside and we go, why don't I have more in this jar? Because the label is detracting everything and it's bouncing it away from you. And the jar is tiny, right? But the idea is at some point, someone's told you something that you didn't want to hear, but needed to hear. And you didn't listen. And so because you didn't listen, you never gave yourself permission to improve on the thing you're supposed to improve on, that you are supposed to improve on, not me. You may go and borrow Bob or Susan's, all the different things and go, well, Bob did this, I'm gonna do this. That's Bob's work. It's not your work. When you find out what your work is, I promise you this, it's gonna make your butt pucker. Yeah, I said that. It makes you a little tight, right? Because you're like, I gotta do that? You do gotta do that. And the hard part is doing it. That's why so many people don't get what they want, because they're not willing to do the thing in the direction of the identity that has it. So never get to attain and sustain because they don't do the thing. So that's the big piece. Can you respect the dark? Now, it's the first piece. The second part of this is you have to do the dark work. Now, I'm going to have a blast unpacking dark work with a lot of our guests. It's honestly my favorite piece of it because I want to find the things they don't want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like the things that you know are the background things that they keep behind the chest and the vest a little bit. I want to find those things. But here's the truth. When it comes to doing the dark work, it's going to be different for everybody. But if we can understand what the dark work looks like, and I can give you an idea of how to look at it for yourself and for the guests, you'll find nuggets you can pop into your own life and go, you know what, I can apply this, and here's why. I do not believe in going big. Sounds odd. Most people go, you gotta go big in life. No. I want to achieve big. Only way to do that is to go small in a really big way. If I go out in the world and go, you know what, I'm going to go big. I'm going to have this one big push of energy and go, why isn't my life changed? Well, because you did it on day one. But on day one, you don't get the results. If you want to go to the gym, it's not day one, it's day 1001, right? It's a progression, but all of us want to go big and get that one burst of energy and get all the stuff. It doesn't work that way. The idea is achieve big by going small in a big way. Here's how you set up the dark work process. You go in and you first do what's called declaring for darkness. What I mean by this is you're going to go through a window of time, your own experience, that rewires you neurologically and psychologically to do things differently. And here's a simple example of what this means. Imagine that a dog walks in a room. There's one person who has been bitten by a dog in their life at some point in time. A little 8-pound Shih Tzu walks in the door, right? This person is up a wall freaking out, like, get the dog away, right? Whereas if you've never been bitten by a dog and this little 8-pound dog comes in, you're like, hey, come here, puppy. You're happy about it. What's the difference? An experience. So the idea is you have to subject yourself to an experience. And you're going to go through a flow, and at the end, you will exit this experience. The reason why I say declare for your darkness is this. I want you to make a declaration of what you will say when you've exited your window of time. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, because you get to be accountable to you. The one person a lot of us are poorly accountable to. We all will do things. Think about it. You'll do something for someone you love. If someone calls and says, hey, I need a ride to the airport 6 in the morning. If you love that person, you'll go show up and do that. You will. Now, if you don't, you won't. Now, how do we get to a point of love, or how do we lose love for ourselves? Well, typically the people I love, I respect. I respect them because of what they do and how they show up and how integrous they are, how consistent they are. And so the respect goes, I can love this human. We fall out of love for ourselves when we commit to something and don't do it because we lose respect for ourselves. So the idea is this declaration is a moment in time to go, I declare this for myself that I'm going to do this. Also, on the third step, you'll read this out loud to the world, just so you're aware. So you want to be able to say something you actually did. So you declare for your darkness. The second part of this inside of the darkness, the do your dark work portion is the most paramount that no one thinks about, which is crazy to me. You must design your dark. You cannot be driven off emotion. You can't go, I'm going to go dark and work hard. That's not going to work because on the third day, you're going to hop in and go, I had a long night. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And now you've fallen off track. You don't respect yourself. It all goes downhill. You won't sacrifice for someone you don't love. Could be yourself, right? So what you do is design the structure of what your dark work will look like. Is it every morning for 15 minutes? Every afternoon you get a workout? Do you send a text message to people every week to tell them you love them? What is the thing you will do every single day or every single week consistently, and it gets put into a schedule to where you can look on a piece of paper and know that on Wednesday, 3 weeks from now, at 7:30 in the morning, you know what you're doing. Design your dark. Design your area. Now, you may not disappear for 30 days completely, right? You could do dark work for an hour a day. It's totally cool, but design that process in the direction of the person you want to become. So extract habits from people that have what you want. Now, I also recommend you don't go, what does future self want? There's a study done by UCLA called The Stranger Inside, and it found that if you were to put diodes on your brain and they asked you about people you love, love lights up in the brain. If they asked you about a stranger, stranger lights up in the brain. When they ask you about future you, stranger lights up in the brain. There's not an emotional connection to that person. So I don't recommend we use that. But there is somebody who has something that you admire. And if you were to ask yourself, what would this person do? You know the answer. Put that on your docket. Design that into your life. When you know that it's something they would do and you don't want to do it, we're in the right place. Lean into that. The third part of this is just go dark. Literally, go dark. What I mean by going dark is you go into a pocket of time that is you away from the world. Now, you may go and exit that space in different times and talk to people to have an accountability person, but when you're working, you will get the most out of you when you are in the dark by yourself. Literally nobody watching. Now, maybe you have a light on in the room, right? I'm not saying go and turn the lights off and wander around. Don't be literal. But I mean away from the world, because there's something in our brains called mirror neurons, which essentially is that you'll mirror something. If I stub my toe, you could look at me and go, oh, why? Because you're mirroring the feeling. But you also are mirroring what I might be thinking. So if I put you in a room and had you just work and you know no one's watching you, you're effective, you're efficient, things get done. The moment that I put somebody in the room with you, you diminish your productivity and effectiveness because you're thinking, am I tapping my pen too much? Are they worried about me? What are they thinking right now? What are they doing over there? I'm mirroring to them. I'm now away from my focus. So to go dark is the best way to be the most productive and get the most done. Set that up and rock and roll, and you just go dark. The third part is to emerge. So respect the light, do the dark work, and emerge. I find a lot of people do a lot of work, preparing the background. It's kind of comfortable, right? What's hard? Stepping into the light, getting out in that court, right? Like putting yourself on the field. Now it's all of a sudden it's real, right? And what happens is there are people that are apprehensive to step on the field. You can work all day long in the background, prepare, lift weights. When it comes game time, oh, I don't want to go out there, right? I look at some of the best athletes I've looked at, that we all look at, we're enamored by. Your Serenas, your Tom Brady's, your LeBrons, your Jordans, right? People that got a single name and you know what I'm saying? They're great because what happened is they did such difficult, arduous, dark work that people thought they were crazy. People tell stories about Kobe Bryant, how he used to go and they were at, I want to say doing the Olympic team. And this guy, they're all coming in from the club at 5:30 in the morning. He's going to the gym. Within a week, they're all at the gym at 5:30. Why? Because of how he locked in. What he did, he was prepared on the moments of stepping into the light because of what he did in the dark. Now, here's what it is. If you have imposter syndrome, you're worried about going into the light, it's not because you don't have the skill sets. You didn't do the dark work. I have never heard a single story about Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Serena, Tom, anybody going, I don't want to go in the field. It's the opposite. They go, let me loose. You have no idea what's about to hit you. I'm a dog on a leash. Like there's a different animal behind it. And it's not because that day they woke up with it. It's because all the days of dark work stacked that you don't know of. And on top of that, it pushes them differently. So you have to go in the dark and do the work so you can emerge, which is to step into the world and compete with conviction for what you want. It's the first step of the portion of emerge. Compete with conviction for what you want most. Prepared for something. Go do that thing. Lean into this thing, right? Don't just have done the work for no reason. Go compete for it. Fight for it. And it's going to be a fight because everybody probably wants something that you got. Compete for it. The second part of it is you have to state your declaration. Now, what do we talk about in step 2? I'm going to write something down. You must now state the declaration of what you said you were going to accomplish to the world. I got to go out and say, you know what? I just finished this time frame and here's what I wrote 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago. Here's what I wrote. And sure enough, I did it, or I fell short of it. But you now know what needs to be done and you know who you are. But you should be able to say more than what's on that sheet of paper. But you have to state the declaration out loud. You have to get ownership from the rest of the world so that the rest of the world knows and you know how you stand in the rest of the world. The last part is the ongoing piece where it comes of all this. When you emerge into the world, there's going to be a moment, a defining moment that stands to make or break you. And here's what it is. It's the moment where all the things are on the line. It's right there. You've worked for it, you fought for it, you've built towards it. And in that moment, something challenges you. Now, the old you would have responded in a certain way. Maybe not the best way, but the new you does something different. They draw on their darkness. Or what I say is DOYD, draw on your darkness. Which means if you look at the most heightened situations in any of the most intense games or moments, the people that are there fighting, like it's not Tom Brady going, we got this, guys. He's not this, he's hunkered down. It's in his eyes. You got Jordan, who got this steely stare, right? The eyes. People talk about the eyes. And in those moments, they're drawing on something different. They're not drawing on this thing if they want to win. They know they deserve to win. When you can draw on your darkness differently in that manner, the world lays down for you. Sounds odd to say it that way, but it does. Now, the level of the work you do determines how much you have to draw on, because if you're in a competition, somebody did more, they got more to draw on. So when you're in that moment of dark work and doing the stuff, it takes a little more to be a champion. Push more, fight more, do more, so when you get to this moment, the defining moment, you can draw on more darkness. Now, that is the 3 steps of how it all rolls. And if you do it properly, it becomes an amazing outcome for your life. Now, there is a fifth little piece I want to put in here because I want to give you what we'll call some ongoing structure. But what I believe is some of the most important pieces when it comes to this work, which is going to be hard, and a lot of us are going to battle it, myself included. Your aim is when you step into the world, is to aim for falling in love with the day, not just the destination. While, yes, the vision's a piece of it, you got to love your day. Meaning you got to love the small things you do each day to where over time it goes from being hard to do this thing to hard not to do this thing. When you get to that beautiful space and now you get up and do what everybody else finds hard and stops, you do it, you get the skill, you develop that sense of self, that pride, that I call it limitless, ridiculous power, and you step into the world as a different human being, a better version of you, what I call your dominator's identity. When you can show up in your life with that, the game changes, life changes, all from making small little shifts. For me, this took place, a long journey of life, but I woke up one day on January 1st, 2016, and I didn't like the man I was. I'd come out of football, lost my career, lost a sense of self. I didn't know who Anthony was without the football game. And I found myself looking in the mirror at a man that I didn't respect. I didn't want anybody in my life to actually admire. And I found that I had to go through my own situation, my own experience, and I had to tuck myself into a pocket of doing exactly what I'm telling you. This dark work. This is past the NFL, past all these things. I had to lock in and do things that were uncomfortable, have hard conversations, own up to a hard sense of who I was, because I realized we are the common denominators in all of our problems, whether we create it or we allow it. And so in these moments, I found a different sense of how I had to show up. And when I showed up differently, I then, after 3 years divorced, remarried my ex-wife. We have an amazing marriage. I'm a present husband and father. I've got thriving businesses, but it's all because I fell in love with the day. I know the things that I have to do to become who I want to become. But if I hate them and I battle them and I fight them, I never do them. So I never become him. But if you lean into those things and you actually ingest more of the poison that is your life, you build up this immunity to it to where you get normalized to it. It becomes weird not to do it. So if you every day work out, it becomes weird on the day when you don't work out, even if you started hating working out. But the journey is built in that manner to where eventually it becomes your second nature to do that. And so you actually to a point where I say that success becomes your second nature. But you have to lean in and do these things. Now, as we go through all these episodes and we uncover these stories that I'm going to have a blast figuring out and digging into for you, I want you to make sure you come to these thoughts, these conversations with an open head, an open mind, and a non-judgmental heart. You're going to hear things that may not make sense to you. That's okay. I've been in a lot of rooms with very successful people who say things that don't make sense to me. But the more I lean in, the more it does. But I'll tell you this, I am really big on an understanding, which is this. While you and I may have opposite beliefs, The existence of your belief is not an immediate attack on mine. I can listen to you. I can hear you. I may not agree with you, but I can still love you as a human, even if it's an opposite belief. And when I have that as the core foundation, my mind can expand to actually hear more and feel more and do more so I can be more. So I invite you on this journey with me to go through this whole dark work unfolding and figuring out what a dark work experience looks like for me, for you, for our clients, for all our interviewers as well, to figure out how you can become that dominator for your life. Now, if you want to find out what your dominator identity is, the level of what it is, go to darkwork.com. You can actually go there and take the dark work assessment. It was designed by an amazing team of people with myself, all PhDs, to figure out really how do we find what it takes to become the best version of you, to develop your dominator's identity. So go to darkwork.com, take the dark work assessment. Outside of that, I look forward to you joining me along with our guests to figure out how we can step in the next part of our worlds by doing that dark work so we can all win in life.